picturesque valley of Pahalgam in Indian-administered Kashmir became the site of a horrific tragedy on April 22, 2025. Militants, suspected to be linked to the Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba, opened fire on a group of Hindu tourists, killing 26 innocent civilians. This brutal attack sent shockwaves throughout India and beyond, prompting widespread condemnation and calls for justice. Among the victims was Lieutenant Vinay Narwal of the Indian Navy, whose death resonated deeply within the armed forces and the nation. The Pahalgam massacre brought back painful memories of past attacks and escalated tensions between India and Pakistan to a dangerous level. The attack on Pahalgam was not an isolated incident. It was part of a long and bloody history of violence and mistrust between India and Pakistan. Both countries have accused each other of supporting terrorist groups that operate on their soil. The attack on Pahalgam was seen by many in India as a clear example of Pakistan's continued support for terrorism. The Indian government felt compelled to respond decisively to what it perceived as an act of war. India pointed to the involvement of the Resistance Front, an offshoot of Lashkar-e-Taiba, a group known to operate from within Pakistan. The attack was a grim reminder of the human cost of the ongoing conflict in Kashmir, a region claimed by both India and Pakistan. The Pahalgam attack presented a challenge to the Indian government. It had to respond to the public outcry for justice and security. Yet it also, in the face of this complex dilemma, India opted for a calculated and decisive response. On May 6, 2025, India launched Operation Sindoor, a series of airstrikes targeting terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The operation was named after the vermilion powder worn by married Hindu women, a poignant symbol of the husbands lost in the Pahalgam attack. The choice of name underscored the emotional weight of the operation for India and its determination to avenge the killings. Operation Sindoor marked a significant escalation in India's response to cross-border terrorism. It demonstrated India's willingness to use military force beyond its borders to target what it perceives as a direct threat to its national security. However, India was also careful to emphasize the limited and targeted nature of the operation. Indian officials were keen to portray the strikes as a measured response to the Pahalgam massacre, carefully calibrated to minimize civilian casualties and avoid further escalation. They stressed that the operation was solely focused on terrorist infrastructure and did not target military installations or civilian populations. 9 locations were targeted in the operation, including suspected headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba, 2 groups with a history of attacks against India. The strikes were concentrated in Kotli, Bahawalpur and Muzaffarabad, areas believed to host terrorist training camps and logistical hubs. India claimed that the operation resulted in the deaths of 12 terrorists and injuries to 55 more, although these figures remain unconfirmed by independent sources. Pakistan vehemently denied any involvement in the Pahalgam attack and condemned Operation Sindoor as an act of unprovoked aggression.